Welcome everybody to another Cpe Power Hour. I'm very glad to have you joining Hector and I today. Today we're going to be talking about client data review tools, and Hector's going to give us an update on what's new in QuickBooks Online this time. Let him talk about QBO just a little bit. We're very glad to have you joining us today. Our agenda today, we're going to be quickly going over some of this administrative stuff, talking about QuickBooks Power Hour, our sponsors and guest speakers. Hector and I will both do the introductions quickly, the Cpe process, upcoming live events, and then we're going to get in depth today. We're going to talk about client data review because I realize a lot of people still are not aware of the tools that are available to us in client data review, or they're just not using them. So we're going to go over that today, and then like I mentioned, Hector's going to go over an update on QBO and the updates that have happened within the last 90 days. So a little bit about Cpe Power Hour. It is a webinar series that we have normally every other week. So our next episodes coming up are on March 3rd and March 17th. Love to have you joining us for those. Then we have tips, tricks, and advanced insights. What we're covering in these Cpe Power Hours is normally about half QuickBooks Desktop and half QuickBooks Online. Now this time we've been talking about converting to QBO and things like that in the last couple of episodes. So this time we're going to spend a little bit more on QuickBooks Desktop compared to QuickBooks Online, and a lot of times we will bring in a special guest to talk about some third-party apps, practice management topics, or value pricing, or other things that we think would be very informative and useful information for you all that are joining us. The sponsors are primarily Hector and myself, Long for Success, and Quick Bookkeeping and Accounting. He and I are the primary sponsors, and we also occasionally will have other vetted sponsors who are helping to bring their content and things that we think is very useful and relevant information that you guys would need to know about. Although we work closely with Intuit and have them on as guests occasionally, they're not an official sponsor of us as well. So just to be aware of that. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Michelle Long. I am a CPA and the owner of Long for Success, located in Kansas City, Missouri, where it's kind of chilly and windy today. I'm the author of numerous different books and Intuit Academy courses. You can check out my books on Amazon. Also like to invite you to join us in our groups. The LinkedIn group is about 160,000 members, and the Facebook group is very active with several thousand people out there. When you've got questions and want to talk to your peers, it's a great place to go post that stuff. Hector, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Michelle. My name is Hector Garcia. I'm a CPA, work and live in Miami, Florida. I have my own classroom where I teach QuickBooks, and I also have a traditional tax practice. I love talking about QuickBooks and teaching other accountants and power users about the great tools that are out there. So obviously I'm here with Michelle doing that.
And I think it's great for us to be together on a webinar. Hector, what's it been months since we've been together? I was traveling quite a bit, and I know you've been busy with taxes. So you guys get both of us this time. So I'm really glad to have Hector and I presenting together again. That's always a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun in January when we were presenting together down in Florida doing the QBO Cert Prep. Hector, you want to go ahead and tell them about the Cpe process?
Absolutely. So for those of you that are CPAs and, or other accounting professionals that need to have continuing education credit, we will issue a Cpe certificate via email that we only give to attendees that attend live, so only for live attendees. And so if you're attending live now, you're obviously eligible for it, and you must be logged in for 50 minutes or more. However, it's extremely important that when we give you the Cpe keyword, you write that down and then answer it towards the end of the webinar, because we only issue certificates for people that answer the correct Cpe question. And the certificates are given out within 2 weeks. Give us 2 weeks. We can't do it any faster than that, as much as we try. So as of now, we are caught up with CPEs up to February 4th episode. So the last 2 episodes, and today we haven't done it yet. We should do it this week. Michelle, you mind launching that polling question? We haven't asked about new attendees in a while, so I just wanted to get an idea for whether this is your first time watching Cpe Power Hour, or if you've seen episodes in YouTube before and maybe you're logging in for the first time, or you're a veteran at this and you've definitely been at Cpe Power Hour before. Okay.
Yeah, it's always interesting to see, and we welcome our new people. I know some of you that join us all the time, you get tired of hearing the introduction stuff all the time, but we do always have new people, and we love to have new people, so that's why we always do the introductions and everything. Go ahead, Hector.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So Michelle, you just want to leave that up for about a minute. We'll finish getting the answers, and we don't have to share them. I guess once we have about 80% of the votes, we can close that, and then we can jump straight into announcements if you want.
Okay, okay. Yeah, so right now we're at about 80%. I was just reading somebody's question here. Alexa says it would be great if we could post what time we're going to start talking about QuickBooks Desktop versus QuickBooks Online so that they can listen when they need to. The problem with that, Alexa, is people who need CPE need to listen the whole time. And one of the reasons we do kind of switch it up is because sometimes people are longtime desktop users and they don't know a lot about QuickBooks Online, but yet we want them to hear about QuickBooks Online, or vice versa, because you can always learn some new things. But Hector and I will consider that and start thinking about putting a time frame up there for which topics will be discussed when. So we will take that under consideration. We always love to hear your feedback. Okay, Hector, you want me to close the poll? Do you want to share the results with everybody?
Go ahead and close it. And yeah, we should probably consider in the next couple of episodes asking a question like, do you prefer to have episodes that are completely split? You know, one QBO and one desktop. That would be an interesting thing to consider, I think. But you know, this is our philosophy. We want to cover both. That way, you know, people, you're all dangerous enough to dabble into each software. Sometimes, you know, we run into clients that have one or the other, and both Michelle and I know Michelle strongly believes in QuickBooks Online and where QuickBooks is into it, is going with it, and I believe in it too. But I also am aware that there's a lot of QuickBooks desktop users out there, so that's why we still believe on sharing both. Okay, so upcoming events. Michelle's going to have her Ultimate VCon on May 12th and May 13th. Just go to accountingvcon.com. It is awesome, tons of great content. Then we're going to have Scaling New Heights. This is the biggest Proadvisor only, or the only Proadvisor only conference that's going to be in the Bahamas, May 22nd to the 25th. Both Michelle and I are speaking at those conferences, so come join us, woodardevents.com. And Intuit has announced QuickBooks Connect in San Jose again for the third year, October 23rd and October 26th, QuickBooksConnect.com. Michelle?
Very good. I also should mention, I believe Intuit is doing a VCon in May as well. I should check on that, check on the dates, but you could double check on that.
I heard it's late April. I heard it's late April, but the dates are not released. That's what I heard, yeah.
Okay, yeah. The Intuit will have another VCon coming up as well for those of you that are interested in that. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about client data review, and I just quickly, and I should have done a poll question on this, what I've discovered though, like when Hector and I, or me and some of the other presenters, when we're presenting like these QBO certification preparation seminars, and I'll ask people, you know, we'll be talking about reclassified transactions. I'll say, how many of you have used that? It is amazing to me that at this day and age, there's still probably less than 25% of the people in the audience that have used reclassified transactions. They don't know about the client data review tools. And I know some of you do know about that, so I'm going to focus on some of the other ones, but I wanted to make sure, Hector and I wanted to make sure that you guys are aware of these client data review tools, especially now when you're working on year-end and cleaning things up, because it helps you to find and fix problems very quickly and efficiently. And CDR, or client data review, this has been around for a long time. I worked on the Accountant Posse back in 2009, and we were adding new tools to client data review. There was already tools out there for a couple of years before that, so I don't remember if it came around in 2007 or 8, but CDR has been around for a long time. But it allows us to find and fix those problems quickly and efficiently, which is another reason we need to be doing value pricing, because it will save you hours on the cleanup work, but yet we're still providing a lot of value to our client. It provides a place to document and manage your work, and it is available. When you're in QuickBooks Accountant Edition, you have all the tools, everything you need. But if you're working on your client's software, let's say you're logging in remotely to work on the client's QuickBooks, or you're going to their office and the client is using QuickBooks Pro or Premier, if you log in as the external accountant user, so you need to set yourself up, or have a client set you up as the external accountant user, then when you log in, you must be using QuickBooks Accountant 2015 or be a member of the paid Proadvisor program, not the free Proadvisor program through QuickBooks Online. You have to be a member of the paid program where you get the QuickBooks desktop software, where you're getting QuickBooks Accountant. Then you log in and you will have access to those tools available under the company menu. So in QuickBooks Pro or QuickBooks Premier, you don't have an accountant menu. It's under the company menu. You'll see the accountant toolbox. So it allows you to access some of these tools on the client's Pro or Premier version of QuickBooks. So keep that in mind when you're working in their version. Now, I'm going to also mention that in QuickBooks Online, when you're logged into QuickBooks Online Accountant, you have a few of these tools that you can use. You can use the Reclassified Transactions and the Write-Off Invoices. You don't have all the tools, but you do have some of them that are available in QuickBooks Online. So I'm now in QuickBooks Desktop, and to access Client Data Review, you click on the Accountant up on the top here. You've got your Accountant Center, where you can see a lot of these tools under the Accountant Center. Right here you can see a lot of these tools, and you can customize this to show the tools that you use most frequently. This provides you shortcuts to access the tools. But the CDR actually gives you a way to manage your workflow and things like that as well. So when you click on Accountant, Client Data Review, I'm not going to go into just one individual tool. I'm going to go into the actual CDR, Client Data Review. Now, I've already started one, and I've already set which fiscal year I wanted to work on. I could put that up here if I needed to. But this is where we can use this to document our work as well. Notice by each one of these we have task notes where we can put notes on here. Hector to check on something. So you can put notes on there and have task notes. You can also have review notes over here, waiting on something from the client. You can have individual task notes, you can have review notes, and you're going to be able to print all of these out and maintain these as part of your documentation for the work that you're doing. So in here you've got all these different tools, the account balances, review your list changes. We've got accounts receivable, accounts payable, sales tax, inventory, payroll, bank rec, and miscellaneous. Now some of these are just links to different things, like down here in the bank rec area and the miscellaneous. These are just links to things that are available in other areas of QuickBooks. The ones where you see the little gear icon or the little wrench icon right here, this little wrench, that means that that's a tool that's only available in Client Data Review. So that's your CDR or your Client Data Review tools. Now, one of the things that's so cool, and I'm going to go over some of the main ones in here. We don't have time to go over all of this. I do have a recording out on YouTube where I went over Client Data Review like for a whole hour. I think Hector has some on his YouTube channel as well. So I'm just going to go over some of the big ones. But if you've already done a review, let's say I did this review last year and marked the review as complete. When I come to do the review this year, this is great. We're able to troubleshoot your prior account balances. When I click on this, it says these are the balances in my accountant's records. Last year when I did this review, and this is different if there's CPAs who are listening, this is not like a compilation, audit, and review. This is a review of their QuickBooks records. So let's just make sure I'm not talking about an official review from a CPA perspective, but a review of their QuickBooks records, okay? But this would be the balances in the accountant's records when we marked the review complete last year, and then this is the balances that are in the client's file today. So this is what we said last year. This should have been our year-end numbers. This is our client's year-end numbers today. Over here's the difference column. Something has changed. In other words, you don't have to pull out your records, run your client's reports, and go through and tick and try and manually look to see what has changed. This will show you at a glance what changed. And if there's a lot of changes, you can check this box down in the bottom left corner, only show accounts with a different balance. So you can quickly see what changed. If I click on this number here, the 315, it'll bring up the audit trail report and it will show me here's what changed. This check right here changed, and I can see right here the prior and the latest. The prior one was $35 and it was changed to $350. So it allows me to quickly go identify those changes, and then you can figure out what you need to do to fix it. But it very quickly will show you changes between your last year-end numbers and the year-end numbers that are in the client's books now. And remember, set that closing date password so clients can't make these changes. But we know they do sometimes, and this allows you to find it quickly and easily. Now, sometimes, though, things will be changed by clients merging accounts. What if they merge two accounts together, two expense accounts together? And so that may trigger some of the changes. One of the things that's cool is you can review these list changes with the client data review tools. You can't see anywhere else changes that the client has made to the chart of accounts, or if they changed item mappings. So like, for example, on the chart of accounts, on each one of these, for chart of accounts, items, your fixed asset items, and your payroll items, it will show you what was added, what was changed, deleted, or merged, so you can quickly see those things and review them. So here I can see the client added a new account. They added a money market account. Oops, they set it up as an other current liability. So that tells me that's wrong. I should go in there and fix that. So it allows you to review the things to make sure it's okay, or if they've merged things, that you can see that, particularly on your items list. Now, we have one here that changed. We have a wood door that used to be an interior part, and now they've changed the parent of that. Okay, well, that looks okay. I'd go ahead and mark that as being okay. So it allows you to review things to see if it's okay, because if they change the account mappings on items, that could impact your prior year numbers as well. So this is helping you to find and fix problems that your clients may have made. So you can review those list changes. Now I'm going to go ahead and minimize this window, and let's say we've reviewed all of our list changes. The reclassified transactions, I think most of you are probably familiar with that, so I'll just show you this quickly. This one allows you to quickly review like all the expense accounts, P&L accounts, balance sheet accounts, and it's allowing me to review these for the date of my review. So I'm doing it for the full year, and this is a sample company, so we're in 2018 here. But I'm looking at it for the full year, cash or accrual basis. I can review what's in my fuel account, what's in my insurance account, what's in repairs and maintenance, and I can look for problems. Let's say these bills here for Sergeant Insurance, let's just move 3 of them. Let's say I want to move those 3 over to, let's select the account and move it to the fuel expense account. So for some reason I decided I want to put them up here in fuel. And this is where, you know, this is not necessarily wrong. I just want to show you how the tool works. So right now under fuel it's $17.50. I want to reclassify. So I've selected the ones I want to reclassify. I could also assign a class if I wanted to say all of these need to go to overhead class. Click on reclassify and bam. All 3 of those are now gone under the insurance expense, and they're now up here under fuel. See over here, Sergeant Insurance, Sergeant Insurance, Sergeant Insurance. So instead of opening each one, changing the account or assigning a class, save and close, open the next one, change the account, all that, you just select those and you go in and quickly reclassify those. So I usually will sort these things by name when I'm looking for things and looking for mistakes. So I can then put all of my Sergeant Insurances together, select the ones that are wrong, and again, I can put this back to insurance this time, although I want it to go to auto insurance. So let's select the right one, automobile insurance. And again, all you do is select those, click reclassify, and bam, it will move all of those in one fell swoop. So it's a huge time saver to review the postings, looking for things that are wrong, then select them, reclassify them, move them where you need it quickly and easily. So these tools under account balances are huge time savers this time of year for people. The other thing you'll see a lot is under fixing the unapplied customer payments and credits. Let's go in and let's look at under customers and receivables and open invoice report. Because sometimes you're going to see out here, under Chris Baker, look what's happened. We have an invoice and we have the payment. It says there's a 0 balance, but yet that invoice is still showing up as open. It's still showing up on our AR aging and it's showing as open because that payment wasn't applied to that invoice. Okay, so, and somebody's asking, is there a similar reclass tool in QBO? Yes, Lynn, there is. It's under the accountant toolbox. So yes, there is a reclass tool there as well. Somebody's saying my laptop battery It's charging. It's fine. Don't worry about my laptop battery. Thank you, though. Okay, so we've got these things where they're unapplied. The payment was not applied to this invoice. And a lot of times you'll have clients that have a lot of these. Well, there's a tool in Client Data Review to help you to fix the unapplied customer payments and credits. Instead of going into each one individually and going in to apply that payment to the invoice, in here you'll be able to go through and you'll see a list of all these customers over here that have open payments and credits. All you do is select this payment to apply to this invoice, and you could do this on a whole bunch of them if there's a lot of them there. And then I can go ahead and click Save, and it says it's going to go ahead and link them, and I can be done with that. So it allows you to clean up things for your customers and your vendors. When you have payments or credits that aren't applied to the invoice or the bill, this allows you to quickly clean some of those things up. You also can clean up the undeposited funds account if you have problems there. We all know that can be a big one. So, and I don't happen to have any here, but you'd be able to select the payments that need to be applied to that deposit. There's also a way to go through and clean this up in one fell swoop, and I've got a YouTube video that shows how to do that if you need to. So there's tools for cleaning up accounts receivable, including the ability to write off invoices. When you have old invoices that need to be written off, you can come out here and you can choose your aging, you can choose balance due less than a certain amount, and you can indicate what you want to look for. Then you're able to control where you want it written off. Here we have an item set up for bad debt, so we've indicated where we want it to write off. We can control our write-off date. What do you want it to be written off as of? So I'm probably going to do it as of the last day of the year if I'm writing these off for year-end purposes. It allows me to preview them and all this, and it will, what it does in QuickBooks Desktop, it creates a credit memo for that invoice. And so, for example, in this particular one, on this invoice, let me go ahead and pull it up and show you. This invoice has sales tax on it. Okay, it does have sales tax payable for $387.50. In QuickBooks Desktop, it creates a credit memo, and it will adjust sales tax payable for you if they had sales tax involved with that invoice. So I can go ahead and preview this and write it off, and it will create a credit memo dated 12/31/18 because that's the date I specified, and it will adjust sales tax payable as well. Now, there is a write-off tool in QuickBooks Online when you're logged in as the accountant user under the accountant toolbox. However, the QuickBooks Online tool, and let me just go ahead and show you this because I do have QBO open, under the write-off invoices, when I come in here to write this off in QuickBooks Online, what it does in QuickBooks Online is it creates a discount for that invoice, and it does not adjust sales tax payable. So keep that in mind. In QuickBooks Online, use this tool to create and identify those invoices that need to be written off, but then come out there and go in under a separate new tab. So open this credit memo in a new tab. Pull this off onto a second monitor so you can do a split screen. So on one monitor you can see the transactions that need to be written off, and on the other screen you're going to be able to see that report that shows you the invoices that need to be written off. So again, use the tool to identify invoices that need to be written off, and in QBO, come out and create a credit memo. So you can do that credit memo in a separate screen so that you're able to see all that, okay? So don't use the tool without keeping that in mind in QuickBooks Online, okay? But those are cool tools to help you. You also, under Accounts Payable, can fix those unapplied payments and credits for your vendors. Then the sales tax tool, this is so cool. How many of you have clients that when it's time to pay their sales taxes, they pay it by writing a check and posting it to sales tax expense? For example, let's look at this check right here. They come in and they write a check. They just write a check, and it comes under taxes. Oh, I have, it's an expense, right? If I have to pay my taxes, it must be an expense. So they post it to that expense account instead of paying sales taxes to reduce that liability. Before we had this tool, you had to go in there, write down the date of the check, the amount, the check number, and all those details, and delete the check that was done wrong and go enter a sales tax payment. And if your if you'd already cleared that check, you've messed up your bank reconciliation. This tool will not only find and identify those that you wrote, like this name, the State Board of Equalization, it recognizes that that vendor name is associated with a sales tax item, so it thinks that these were done incorrectly. You can double check them and take a look at them. Then what you do is you select that check, and what it's going to do is, you'll see down here, it's going to void the check and replace it with a sales tax payment. It retains your check number, your dates, and the cleared status. In other words, if it was previously cleared and reconciled, it will still be cleared and reconciled. It doesn't mess that stuff up for you. So it finds it, fixes it, replaces it, and it does it all. And watch, just click void and replace. Are you sure? Ba-bam. How fast is that versus our old way of doing things? This is where we're talking about how much time you're saving, and we're talking about value pricing, okay? Because if you're billing by the hour, something that took you 10 hours to do last year, now you're going to be able to do this in 1 to 2 hours. You should be value pricing, or you make less money, okay? So that's why we talk about value pricing. Those of you that want to know more about value pricing, if you go to my YouTube channel and look under the Firm of the Future webinars, it was number 3 on becoming a trusted advisor. So if you go to YouTube, search Michelle Long CPA on YouTube, or go to my website, you'll find my YouTube channel, Firm of the Future webinar number 3, becoming a trusted advisor. We talk about value pricing and converting to value pricing. Hector, do you want to say anything or add anything or cover any questions?
Yes. Before we do that, can we launch the CPE keyword, and then we'll go through the questions while the CPE keyword is up?
Good, thank you. Well, maybe let me get back to my PowerPoint. Sorry.
Okay, and I've been
there we go.
Typing. Oh wow, that's a heck of a CPE keyword.
Taxes. Hector has been busy doing taxes. How many of you have also been busy doing taxes? Boo, Brent says. I agree, Brent. I absolutely hate taxes. I don't do taxes except for one client that I can't get rid of, but I got rid of all my other tax clients, and I don't do those anymore. Daniel says he's up to his eyeballs. Elizabeth feels your pain, Hector. Shannon says, I wish I didn't do tax. Hey, Shannon, it's the best decision I ever made when I quit doing taxes. I absolutely do not like taxes. I didn't even like taxes in college. In college, I got 2 C's my last semester, and one of them was in tax class. Hector, how about you? You still like taxes. You got a master's in tax, right, Hector?
Yeah, I force myself to like taxes. It doesn't come naturally, though.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm glad you guys are all joining us during tax season. So go ahead and write down taxes, okay? Oh, I like what Peter said, tax, everybody's least favorite 3-letter word ending in X. Oh, that's funny. Linda says, Michelle, were you able to replace the lost revenue from tax services with QuickBooks Consulting? Linda, that's exactly what I did. I realized I did not like taxes, so that's when I started getting rid of all my tax clients. And what I could do is I could network with other accounting professionals, people like Hector who do taxes. Some people love and enjoy taxes. That's great. More power to you. You know what? I'll send my clients to you for the tax preparation. You send your clients to me for me, and I'll clean up the QuickBooks file for you, help train them or whatever. And they knew that I wouldn't steal their clients because I hate taxes. But now you have to develop a relationship with people. But it worked out really good because there were people who, they didn't want to do the QuickBooks side of things, and I didn't want to do the tax side of things. So it worked out really great for both of us, you know, and we're still meeting the needs of the clients, but we were able to do what we enjoy doing. I could do the QuickBooks, somebody else could do the taxes. So it has worked out very good. Okay, so, all right. Taxes, write that down one more time. Taxes, write that down for the CPE poll question a little bit later. And let me go back into a couple of key CDR tools for you all. So we talked about sales taxes. Another thing that's really big, because it's really big message, and then I'm going to wrap up and let Hector have some time as well, is when it comes to inventory. Some of the biggest messes I've ever seen clients make are around payroll and inventory. I think some of you guys would agree, especially when it comes to inventory. Sometimes it's really hard to find and fix those mistakes. So there's tools in here to help you with that. And this is one of the tools that we created when I was on that accountant posse. This one, the write-off of sales taxes, and reclassified transactions are the three tools that I was on the posse. We were telling Intuit what we wanted it to do, and they would create it and build it for us. So the first thing we wanted was a tool to help see when there's a difference. Compare the balance sheet and the inventory valuation. Because what would happen, people would make a journal entry. And when you come in here and you go in and make a journal entry, you can debit inventory or credit inventory for whatever you need to do, and you can offset it to cost of goods sold if that's what you want to do, but I'm not able to enter an item on a journal entry. So what that does, or if I come in and I write a check, and I come into my write checks window, and I'm going to write a check, and I bought inventory, and I come in here and I post it to the inventory account, instead of on the items tab, I'm not able to put the item down here. So when you post a transaction directly to the inventory account, or when you make a journal entry directly to the inventory account, what that's doing for you, and I'm going to go ahead and record those things, what that does is it makes a difference between, and I don't have a difference here as of that date. I should have done that. Let's just do that again. Let's go back under write a check. Let's do it to the inventory account. Let's do $500, but I have to date this 2018. Sorry about that. What that does is it creates a difference between the balance sheet and the inventory summary or the inventory detail reports, because I did adjust the balance on the balance sheet. It posted to inventory. So I adjusted it on my balance sheet, but I didn't put an item in there, so you have a difference now between your inventory reports and your balance sheet. So this would quickly show you when you have a difference, and it's going to see, a while ago I had a green sign in here. Now I've got this warning sign that says there is a discrepancy. So if it's green, you're good. You don't have to worry about it. But what we have here is we say to find these problems, transactions that use the inventory asset account but not an inventory item, it gives you a report that will show you what transaction that was. So at a glance, I can go in, here's this check, and they posted it to inventory instead of using the items tab, or maybe they did a journal entry. So it allows you to quickly find and fix mistakes that you have. So that's the first tool that you have working with inventory. Then this one is really amazing, this Troubleshoot inventory tool. It looks a bit overwhelming though, because there's all of these options up here for you. This is where you can look for inventory items. Let's say you want to look for items where the client didn't buy or sell any of them during the year. So I could uncheck the rest of these and say, let's just look for items that we didn't buy or sell any during the year. Maybe we want to write those off and stop carrying those. Or maybe we want to look for everything where the markup is less than 10%. Maybe our client has always said we always want to price things to have a minimum of a 10% markup, or 20 or 50% or whatever. Sometimes there's errors in pricing, and they may not have price in here correctly. So this can help you to identify those where the pricing might be wrong. Or maybe I want to look for something where they have an inactive item with a quantity on hand. You always should adjust the inventory before you make it inactive. So you don't want to make something inactive when there's a balance in it. So this would allow you to help look for those things. And then finally, the biggie is negative quantity. Now, when I click on negative quantity, this is where, and let me go ahead and change this back to show all of these, because that's where I did have it out there. Let me show everything again. Down here in the bottom right corner, see where it says alert if there's a negative inventory as of the to date. Well, as of the to date is as of December 31st, but really you need to look for, and doggone it, I thought I had created some out here, but I guess I didn't. You want to look for any negative inventory at any time in the date range, any time during the year did we have negative inventory, because negative inventory messes up things quite a bit because it doesn't know what to use for the cost of goods sold account. or for the cost of goods sold amount. Lots of really funny, screwy problems. Way to fix that, a lot of times what happens is the client, let's say, enters the invoice, let's say February 10th is when they bought the invoice, but then they didn't enter the purchase of the invoice until February 15th. So they entered the bill for the invoice 5 days after they sold it. That's where they could get into a negative inventory situation. Or they're using the wrong item or a number of things. But a lot of times if you will just change the date of the bill or the check or the expense, the purchase of the inventory should be the same date or before the date of the invoice or the sales receipt. You must buy it before you sell it. So you got to put the purchase before the sale, and a lot of times changing those dates will fix your negative inventory. If you had negative inventory, you'll see this warning sign over here. What you do in that situation is you click on, let me click on one of these that doesn't have too much here. Here, let's take this invoice and let's change this. Which item was I looking at there? Let's go back over here. This is the door frame, and I sold 4 of them on that invoice. Let's go change that door frame. Must be this one right here. Let's try changing that to 14. Oh, and it says you shouldn't do that. Let's go ahead and do it anyway. That's what your clients do sometimes, right? Now let's go back over here and see if I created negative. No, I still didn't do it. Well, anyway, go in here and play with the sample file, but that's where your dates will be different. You need to make sure you buy the invoice before you sell it. Oh, that's what I did. I didn't change the date of my invoice. If your invoice is dated before your bill, that's where you're going to get some problems. And this tool can help you to find those. Just click on the number in this column right here. It'll take you into the detail of all that activity on that account so that you could go in and look at that, okay? So hopefully that will show you there, show you how to use that tool. And again, these are all things that are under client data review, all these tools, and there's other ones out here, find incorrectly paid payroll liabilities. Now the one thing I'll mention about that one, the find incorrect payroll liabilities, just like with the sales taxes, where they use a regular check to pay for it instead of going through the Pay Liabilities Window, this will find it for you and it will identify it, but it doesn't fix it. The sales tax will void and replace and maintain the cleared status and everything. On the payroll taxes, unfortunately, and I don't know why they still have not changed this, it will identify these are the checks that were wrong. You've got to go fix it the old-fashioned way by voiding and replacing yourself and then fixing the bank rec as well. So you got to do that the old method there. But I encourage you, if you have not used client data review in the past, this will save you tons of time. Go through, use this to do your year-end cleanup work. Anytime you have a client that comes to you and says, my books are a mess, can you help me? Your client data review tool can help you to identify problems. It helps you to review their books to see what kind of condition they're in, what kind of messes do they have, especially that inventory tool. It can help you to identify these things. And remember, it saves you a ton of time doing the cleanup work. So you don't just have to use this at year end. You can use this anytime during the year when a client comes to you to do cleanup work. Once you've finished all this, you can print out this. It'll print your notes and your review notes. You can monitor the status of these things. If it's in progress, completed, you can save it as a PDF, and you'll also have an audit trail of the review in all the changes that you've made. You definitely want to save this as a PDF when you get done. It's where you're able to document your work, so it helps you with your workflow as well. When you're all complete with it, you mark this review as complete, and what that's doing is that's locking in your balances for that Troubleshoot prior account balances. When I mark it as complete, whatever my year-end numbers are, next year, that's what's going to be in this column right here. So it locks in your year-end numbers so you can quickly see when something has changed, okay? Okay, so I hope this has been helpful for you. I hope it was worthwhile to go through this and see. And again, remember, some of these tools are available in QuickBooks Online. Remember, you can log in QuickBooks Pro or Premier as the external accountant. Then under the company menu, right in here somewhere, you'll see Accountant Toolbox. I think it's right up in here somewhere, but you'll see Accountant Toolbox. that will allow you to access many of these tools, but I don't think there's all of these tools in there. But if you're able to get in and access it in Pro or Premier, you should have QuickBooks Accountant so you can access the full CDR where you can document your work and all that there. Okay? Okay, so Hector, are you ready to give us an update on what's new in QBO?
Yes, absolutely. If you want to go ahead and make me presenter.
I will do that. Let's do that quickly, and I'll answer some questions in the chat log right now. Ooh, Hector, I don't see you. Why don't you just
typing.
Go ahead and
you don't
can
see
you
me
go
yet?
ahead and hold on?
Yeah.
Okay, I got you now. Make presenter. There you go. Okay.
Okay. Show my
There you
screen.
go.
All right, perfect.
Okay.
I was typing frantically.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see your screen.
Okay. Okay. So I was typing frantically. There was a lot of questions here. There was the three most common questions that prevailed through your whole presentation. One of it is, where is all of this in QuickBooks Online? Okay, so we explained that only a few of these tools, like the write-off tool and the reclassify tool, are in QuickBooks Online. None of the other tools are available in QuickBooks Online. One of the first things that you did, Michelle, which is the beginning balance discrepancy with the working trial balance. QuickBooks Online Accountant has a tool called the trial balance. If you haven't checked it out, I recommend you do. It does some of those functions, not exact, but it does do some of those functions. The other confusion area was, if your client has QuickBooks Pro or Premier, how do I access the accountant tools? Well, you have to have an active Proadvisor subscription, and they have to create a user. You have to be an external accountant. That's the user type. And then once you log in, you have to put your Proadvisor credentials to be able to unlock that. Also, in QuickBooks Enterprise, you do not have access to the accountant tools the same way you have as Pro and Premier, because in QuickBooks Enterprise 2015 and above, as long as you're updated to the latest release, all the accountant tools are released. So QuickBooks Enterprise itself from 2015, I believe, is R5 or R6. All of those things were released. So that's pretty much, in a nutshell, I think the most important questions. Michelle, there's other questions there you can answer as well. Let me jump into my section now. So what I wanted to do is, so if you are a long-term QB Power Hour watcher, you know that most of the QuickBooks Online things it's what Michelle covers, and most of the QuickBooks Desktop things is what I cover. So today we decided to flip roles a little bit and make it fun. Have Michelle, who used to work on the accountant tools and desktop for a very long time, also very involved with the feedback, the group of feedback people that gave into a feedback about those tools. So it was great to see Michelle working on desktop. I felt a little bit nostalgic in a good way. Anyway, so let's talk about updates to QuickBooks Online in the past 90 days. Now, I recognize that a lot of you are busy because of tax season and things like that, and you probably haven't looked deep into the new things that Intuit added to QuickBooks Online, and I think they're worth sharing. The two areas that I'm going to kind of share with you are updates to inventory. So we're going to talk about the things that they added to the inventory features in QuickBooks Online in the past 90 days or so, and then things that they added to the register. So the ones in blue are the three topics that we'll discuss having to do with inventory, and the ones in red are the ones having to do with register. So let's start with inventory. I'm going to go ahead and collapse the sidebar over here because I like to have that extra real estate. I'm going to click on the gear menu and click on products and services, and that's going to take me into my products and services list. Now, one of the things that they upgraded probably a little bit before December is the general look of this report. You know, one of the great things that we have is we have this filter menu on the top left that allows us to choose if we want to look at inactive or deleted items, for example, or if we want to look at active items only, or all of them. We also have the concept of categories. Categories are kind of a big deal because in QuickBooks Desktop we don't have the concept of categories. Categories are what in QuickBooks Desktop would be. It would be an item with a sub-item. So let me go ahead and I'm going to create two categories here. I'm going to call one category Mexico, and this is going to make sense in a second. So I'm going to click go. One category is going to be Mexico, and the other category is going to be California. Okay, so I'm just going to do some avocado inventory here. Let me just go ahead and delete these other categories that are here that I don't need. That way we're narrowed down to 2 categories. Now, one of the things that's really nice about categories is I can have essentially 2 items in QuickBooks Online that bear the exact same name, but because they belong to different categories, they could still be in the item list, something that's sort of a newer concept. Because if you're an experienced QuickBooks user, you know you cannot have 2 items with the same name or 2 accounts with the same name. So let me create the first one. I'm going to create an inventory item, and then we're going to call this Hass. Okay, I guess that's a type of avocado. And then on the category, I'm going to put here Mexico. And then I'm going to put an initial quantity on hand, because this is really the only way to adjust inventory in QuickBooks Online. There's no function for inventory adjustment. So there's this weird thing called initial quantity on hand that creates sort of a special transaction that adds this inventory in the first place. So let's say we have 100 of them, and this is starting 12, 31, 20, 15. Okay, and then we have the usual stuff like what's the inventory asset, the sales account, income account. Let's go ahead and put that we sell these guys for $1.49 a pop, and we pay $69 each. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and New, and then I'll create another type of avocado. And if you're an avocado fan like me, you know the name of every type of avocado out there. So let me do a Words avocado, and this is going to be also from Mexico. And let's say we got 50 of these, same day, 12/31/2015. I'm going to show you something really neat that they upgraded to that initial quantity concept. So let's say these are $1.24 for sales price, and they cost us, let's say, 45 cents. And then I'm going to go ahead, Save and New, and I'm going to do one more, and I'll do an inventory part as well, and I'm going to call it Hass, just like the other one, but this time around, this is going to be part of the California category. So this would be, like in QuickBooks Desktop, would be an item and a sub-item. And let's say I got 400 of these available, 12/31/2015, and because I got them from Mexico, let's say they're cheaper. So although you could argue they taste better, but let's just assume that they're cheaper. So let's say we're selling these for $1.27, and then our cost is, let's say, 37 cents. So I'm going to go ahead and save and close. So I want to show you in this item list, I actually have 2 items that bear the same name, but because of the categories, I'm allowed to duplicate these. Now here on the top right, something really neat that they added is we can actually pick and choose what type of information we want to see from an item list. They upgraded this, I think, back in October, but it's kind of a hidden feature. So I want to focus here on SKU. I want to focus on sales price, cost, and quantity. These are just kind of the ones that I'm going to look at here. That's basically what I want to look at. And let's say we have internal codes for these products. So although we have different names like Words or Hass or whatever, let's say we have internal codes. So I'm going to go here into Edits, and we're going to call this one MXAW, just to say, you know, unnumbered. And then we're going to go to this one, and then we're going to do, let me edit this, and let's call this a MHSS, and then we'll call this one. And you're going to see how interesting the whole dynamic of SKUs is in QuickBooks Online, and then we'll call this one CHSS. Perfect. Save and close. Right. So one of the issues that we have now right off the bat is that if we go into our balance sheets, I'm going to go into our balance sheet real quick. Let me go into my balance sheet. I'm going to have an initial inventory balance here. So I'm going to go here to inventory asset, and I'm going to click on that $239.50 that's there, and I'm going to see. Let me do an all dates here. I am going to see 3 transactions, several transactions, inventory starting value on these 3 here, and then just kind of ignore the 4 in the bottom. Those are things that we did in some other example. But these first 4, this is a transaction type called inventory starting value. This doesn't exist in the QuickBooks Desktop world, but something that they added new, which is huge, extremely important. They just added this in February, is that if I click on any of these inventory starting values, I can actually edit. So I can actually edit an inventory adjustment that I created based on a starting value. So if I made a mistake and put the wrong initial quantity or put the wrong initial cost, I have the ability to edit that. So that's a new feature. If any of you work with QuickBooks Online Inventory, you know this was a huge pain point, not being able to change this. Now I can also change the account that it affects. So traditionally, before we were able to access this, we would have to put the initial value and then make a journal entry from opening balance equity into retained earnings or whatever. So this is one of the major changes is now I have the ability to change this. Now, one of the things I don't have the ability to change, unfortunately, let me go back to products and services. So I'm going to assume this is coming, but if I want to adjust the inventory value as of today, for example, let's say I went in and I counted it and it was really 378, and then I'm going to put as of today, and I'm going to do an adjustment of $22 and I hit save and close. I would say one of the challenges that we have is when I go look at that historical inventory asset value of here inventory asset, and then I'm going to go ahead and click on all dates. So we also see this adjustment. So this adjustment here I made, this is that very last line that's here, that adjustment that I made comes in as a transaction called inventory quantity adjustment. Now when I click on that, I cannot do anything with it. It's just kind of an informational thing. So there is no way for us to edit a quantity adjustment transaction. So if anybody here from Intuit is listening and watching, we are in dire need of being able to edit this transaction just like we can do with the starting quantity. So I'm going to make the assumption that Intuit is testing the starting quantities tool to see how successful it is, and then hopefully they'll give us access to edit this. However, if you do need to edit it, what you can do is you can go into the chart of accounts and you can go down to inventory asset, and then we can click on view register. I know it's kind of a strange way of doing it, but this is how we can delete inventory adjustment. So we can go to view register, and then we're going to see every single transaction related to inventory into our inventory asset register. Now through the filter here, I can actually click on transaction type and I can pick the type of transaction that I want to filter. The problem is that inventory adjustment is not one of them, and even if I pick journal entry, that is not there. So that would be another really neat thing to see here, is to see inventory adjustment or initial inventory adjustment as one of the things that we can filter. So I can't filter it, so I'm going to have to basically find it. So I'm just going to scroll down and then look for my adjustment, which is this one right here. Okay, and then what I can do is, and again, the problem is if I click on edit, this is going to take me to that same screen that I can't change. So the only thing I can do is delete it. So this is how we can, quote unquote, modify an inventory adjustment by deleting it and then going back into the product and item list and doing it again. All right, so that's the whole concept with inventory starting values. So let's talk about SKUs. So let me run a report. Let me go here to reports. And then I'm going to run let's go into all reports, and then we'll go to review sales, and then we'll go a sales by product or summary. So basically, this is a report that gives me all of the products that we've sold. Let me do all dates here and click on reports. Actually, let me just, let's do that. So I haven't sold this product yet. This is all the old deleted items. So I want to start making some transactions to sell some of those products. So I'm going to click here on the plus sign, and then I'll click here on invoice, and then I'll just pick random client here. I'll pick this client here, and then I'm going to pick one of these products here. So notice that the name of the item, the category, and the SKU, they're all part of the description. Now, if I type on the text part, if I type CHSS, it will filter and show me the item by SKU. That is huge. That's the real valuable piece of SKU. Also, if I type California, I'm going to have all my California options right under it, and then we get a traditional item, sub-item look and feel that we get from QuickBooks desktop. Now, here under the quantity box, if I click on that and just wait for that hover, it actually tells me how much I have available. That's actually pretty awesome. That's something that new that they added in December. So basically, I'll know how many I can sell. I know if I have enough. Obviously, if that item quantity is not correct, then we have to go back and make an inventory adjustment as we spoke. So let me go ahead and also select another unit here, and let's say we're going to sell 45 of these. Do I have enough in stock? Yes, I do. So I'm going to hit save and close. So let's go back into this report. There it is. Now, some of the things that are interesting about this report, and let me go ahead and just put today's date. That way we only see, hopefully we only see the 2 transactions I just did here. So you can see that these are displayed by category. If I collapse California or collapse Mexico, I just get amount totals. I don't get individual units. I would have to expand it like this to get the individual units. Okay. Now, the other interesting thing here is I'm going to click on this total number down there that's just basically going to give me a detailed report. When we look at detailed reports, in this particular case, this detailed report is grouped by product or service. That means that it's going to group all the California items and group all the Mexico items together, because that's how it's done. It's done by product or service. But something that's interesting, I can also group them by SKU. So if I use the SKU option here and hit report, this is going to group them by SKU, no longer by category. So if you are looking into using SKU for something else, you could use that filtering system to group your sales by SKU, whatever you want to use SKU for. So that's what I like about that new SKU option. Okay, so those are edit inventory starting values, SKUs and reporting, and inventory available in sales forms. Let's now go to ledger style register and the new register options that we did. However, because it's 5 minutes still, Michelle, do you mind running the CPE polling question? That way we're not sort of rushed in the last 5 minutes.
I'll do that right now. Let's go ahead and launch that poll question here. All right. Answer the CPE poll question with the keyword that we provided to you earlier if you need CPE credit. We would appreciate that. Go ahead and answer that poll question there. And somebody had asked, many of these questions and answers are very useful. How do I save them? If you click on File, Save Questions Log, or I think it says questions log, not chat log, save questions log, you'll be able to save that yourself. So at the end of the webinar, when Hector and I say thanks and this is the end, go ahead and click File, Save Questions Log, and we'll give you a minute or two to do that before we actually end the webinar. But go ahead and do File, Save Questions Log, and you will have that available to you later. Somebody typed in the CPE keyword. You need to answer the poll question to get the CPE keyword, okay? And so yeah, answer the CPE poll question by doing this. Can you use a POS scanner with the SKU to scan in as you're selling? Tamara wants to know, Hector. Can you use a point of sale scanner?
Sure. So this is the situation. Okay, a scanner that is plugged into your computer via USB that acts as a keyboard and could essentially read a SKU and type it in QuickBooks for you. So you could read a barcode and it will type all the numbers in there, but you will still have to hit tab or something for it to find it in the list. Okay, so I would say yes, it is something I haven't experimented with yet. It's not a true barcode solution, but if you configure your barcode to act as a keyboard, it could basically type in any of the information that it scans. You want to go ahead and close the polling question, Michelle, while you ask another question as well?
Yes, and there are third-party, so last call on the CPE poll question here. If you need CPE, do it now quickly. But also, Hector, there are third-party programs that will integrate. If you need point of sale, there's some great third-party programs that integrate with QuickBooks Online. You might want to check some of those out. Just go to apps.com.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, go ahead, Hector.
Yeah, absolutely. Perfect. Okay, can you see my screen again?
Yes,
you can?
we can.
All right. So the last three things I want to cover, last couple of nice updates that we've done to QuickBooks Online, or not we, Intuit has done to QuickBooks Online, are the new ledger style register, the hide and remove columns in the register. I think that feature is incredible, by the way, and then attaching from the register. So let me switch over back to QuickBooks Online here. And again, I didn't cover all of the inventory features in QuickBooks Online. I just talked about just some of the changes. QuickBooks Online has some really interesting inventory features that they've done last year. You can add pictures. There's a lot of interesting things you can do to it. But I just wanted to talk about the couple of things that have changed in the past couple of months. Okay, so I'm going to go into the chart of accounts here and jump into my Chase here, my Chase bank register, and I'm going to click here on the right where it says View Register, and I'm going to show you all the real neat things they added to the new QuickBooks register. First of all, one of the major criticisms that QuickBooks Desktop users had for QuickBooks Online was that they changed the way the register looked. So first of all, in QuickBooks Desktop, we had the ability to have a one-line register system, so we don't have these two lines. And also, when you scroll all the way down, usually you were able to see an empty transaction right on the bottom, which is the place where we do data entry. Now, in QuickBooks Online, they changed the look and feel on the register. So all the way in the top, there's a little drop down here, and this is where you create new transactions. The other things you can do is you can actually hit Ctrl-Alt-N. So if you are, I'm going to click back for a second and go back into the register here. So if I don't want to use the mouse and I want to open the ability to do a line, I can just hit Ctrl-Alt-N and that that line will open, and then I can start doing Tab, Shift Tab, all the normal typing in order for me to create the transaction. Now, one of the new things that they added is here on the gearbox on the top right, all the way down, there are two options. One is called Show One Line. So if I click on that, I get my traditional single line register mode that I think is a lot less distracting, and it allows us to view a lot more information at once, which I love. And down here in the bottom, I can click on Compact. If I don't want to see so much space between transactions, Compact will make it even narrower, so that way I'm seeing more information on that precious amount of real estate I have on the screen. Now, the other really cool thing about this is being able to turn off and on these columns. So if I click on Attachments, for example, I can actually see, let me click that, I can actually see which of these transactions have an attachment next to it. So if your job is to enter, let's say, a bunch of expenses, and you have to attach a receipt to each of these expenses, let me go into one of them here. You can click here on where it says Add Attachment. So they also added that little tiny button there where you don't have to actually, so traditionally you had to click on Edit and then scroll all the way down on the transaction and drag and drop the attachment into there. Now you can actually do it straight from the register, which I love, by just clicking on Add Attachment. So I can just search whatever, here's my receipt. I can attach it there, and then once I'm in some other transaction, right, I should be able to see, let me just say, I should have let it finish saving. So let me finish uploading that. So once the upload is done and the file is completely attached, whatever the attachment is, you're actually going to see on this, let me hit yes here, you're going to see on this paperclip column, you're going to see, and for some reason I'm not saving it, but you're going to see on, I want you to kind of look at the right side on the paperclip where you see that one there. Okay, that's basically telling you that there's one attachment associated with it. Okay, so that's kind of the great new feature, that little one there. So you're able to see, and you can even sort, in the transactions that have attachments, that don't have attachments. Now here in the gearbox, I can also turn on two really awesome columns, which is Reconcile Status and Banking Status. These two columns to me are really important. One, because the Reconcile Status tells me whether it's been reconciled or tentatively cleared, or what they call tentatively reconciled, which basically means that we went in there and we marked it C, or we downloaded it from the bank. And then when we see these little two arrows, this lets you know whether or not this transaction was manually added into QuickBooks, or it was automatically added or matched through the bank feed. So I really think that dynamic of being able to see whether the transaction is cleared, reconciled, or if it was downloaded through the bank, it's a real neat thing. And the last thing here is the paper ledger mode. So when you click on that gearbox and click on paper ledger mode, this would actually look a lot more like the register in QuickBooks Desktop. Okay, the register in QuickBooks Desktop, which is this ledger mode. And let me switch it back and forth. And Michelle, can you still hear me? I think I'm not getting any
Hector,
feedback.
I can still hear you. I can still hear you.
Okay.
For those
Okay.
people that do have to get off, since we're at the top of the hour, thank you guys for joining us. We do have a couple more minutes if you guys want to hang on. And I would like to remind you to join us for upcoming QB Power Hours. Hector and I, as usual, have great content planned. I know he's got one coming up on some advanced reporting in QuickBooks Enterprise. I've got one coming up on streamlining your workflow, working with Citrix and ShareFile. Both of those are coming up in March. So if you have to jump off, thank you for joining us. Otherwise, Hector, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Michelle. Yeah, I'm almost done. So this, again, just to recap, in the Gearbox, this paper ledger mode completely sent the register mode back to how the desktop was, where now we see all the way in the bottom the new line to enter the transactions. And some people are probably jumping in their seats right now because if you've been using QuickBooks for a very long time, we're used to scrolling all the way down to see those transactions in the bottom. So that's what that mode is instead of having the line in the top to enter a new transaction, it would be the line in the bottom, and also the order or sequence of transactions is now going to be based on the oldest in the top and the newest in the bottom. And really that's it, Michelle. Do you want to switch back to the last? Actually, I can do it. I'll do the wrap-ups here. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us in QB Power Hour. We know it's busy tax season. Please join Michelle's LinkedIn group. It has over 160,000 members. It's called Successful QuickBooks Consultants. Great place to ask questions and get help with QuickBooks. And also the Facebook group, which I'm in a lot more than Michelle, because Michelle does a lot more stuff in the LinkedIn group. Also, we can continue the conversation, give us suggestions about what would you like to see and the type of solutions that we want to solve for in the QuickBooks world. And as Michelle said, join us, I believe it's next week, Michelle, you're doing the Citrix webinar, or is it in 2 weeks?
No, I think that one is on the 24th, I believe. I'd have to double check. It's coming up after March 15th tax deadline.
Oh, okay, so the next episode, it's going to be next week. Michelle and I haven't come up with topic yet. Then we're going to take a 2-week break. And then the episode on March 17th, I want to make a big deal about this because we're going to go into one of my favorite tools, which is QuickBooks Enterprise Advanced Reporting. And it's one of the most difficult advanced tools in the QuickBooks world. And I'm going to try to make it very, very easy to understand. That way, some of you that have been trying to get into QuickBooks Advanced Reporting, you'll find a really good way into it. Anyway, Michelle, I'll let you say the last words.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Hector, thank you for joining us during tax season. I know you're incredibly busy. And thank you guys all for joining us as well. Thanks, and you'll be getting the follow-up email shortly. So thanks, everybody, for joining us. Bye.
Bye-bye.